Hello, everyone. Welcome to Awaken Your Freedom Show. Please subscribe to support our growing community. Okay, let's really dig into something fascinating today. Our brains. We all kind of know they're powerful, right? But as Jim Kwik points out, we don't exactly get an instruction manual with them.
No, not at all. It's kind of assumed we know how to use them.
Exactly. So in this deep dive, we're tackling the core of Kwik's Limitless, this crucial interplay of mindset, motivation, and method.
The three M's.
Yeah, the three M's. And our goal here is really to equip you with insights you can actually use, to move past those feelings of being stuck or like you're just scratching the surface of what you're capable of.
Right, like there's more potential there.
We're looking at the blueprint, essentially, for unlocking your cognitive potential.
And what's really compelling, like right from the start, is Quick's own story.
Oh, yeah, his background.
His experience overcoming some really significant learning hurdles after a childhood brain injury. I mean, he was even labeled as having a broken brain, which is just awful. But it powerfully underscores this central idea.
Which is?
Well, that many of the limitations we think we have, they aren't necessarily inherent deficits. They're often just a result of not having learned effective strategies.
So it shifts the focus. It's not what's wrong with me, but...
Exactly. It becomes, how can I develop myself? How can I learn the skills?
Right. It's less about some fixed level of intelligence and more about the skills of learning themselves, which is interesting when you think about it.
Yeah, so...
Well, we understand this perfectly when it comes to our bodies, don't we? You wouldn't expect to just wake up and run a marathon without any training.
No way. You'd need a plan,
Yeah,
practice.
Precisely. And Kleekar argues our brains function very similarly. Skills like memory, focus, reading speed, even creative thinking. These aren't fixed traits. They're abilities we can actually cultivate.
Like mental muscles.
Yeah, exactly. Abilities we can strengthen with the right kind of mental workout.
That parallel between physical and, well, cognitive training is really quite insightful, I think. And when you look at people who operate at incredibly high levels, think Elon Musk reading constantly, or Warren Buffett absorbing just vast amounts of information.
Yeah, their learning capacity is legendary.
It really drives the point home. It's probably not them being born with some, completely unique intellectual wiring. It seems much more likely that it's a result of consciously developed learning techniques, skills they've mastered and apply consistently.
So they learned how to learn effectively.
It looks that way. It's mastered skills, not some kind of magic.
Okay, so if we want to create our own mental workout plan, where do we start? Kwik offers this fundamental equation: limitless equals mindset times motivation times method.
Mindset X, motivation X method.
Right. And the key thing he stresses is that multiplication sign. If any one of those components is zero,
The whole result is zero.
the whole equation just falls apart. You can have all the desire in the world, the motivation, right? But without the right beliefs, the right mindset, and effective techniques, the methods, well, progress is going to be limited or zero.
That formula really highlights how interconnected it all is, doesn't it? You could have the most cutting-edge learning methods available.
All the best apps and books.
Yeah. But if your underlying beliefs about your own capabilities are restrictive, if that mindset piece is low, or if you just lack that genuine drive, the motivation, those methods aren't going to take root. It won't stick.
It's got to be holistic.
It really does. It acknowledges that both our internal state, our beliefs, our drive, and our external strategies, the methods, are crucial for growth.
Okay, let's dive deeper into that first element then. Mindset. This is about those foundational beliefs we hold, the ones that ultimately shape our perception of what's even possible for us.
The assumptions we make about ourselves.
Yeah. And how often do we hear things like, oh, I'm just not good with names, or I'm too old to learn a new language, or I'm not a math person?
All the time. Those kinds of statements.
According to Kwik, these aren't immutable truths. They're often just limiting beliefs we've picked up somewhere along the way. Learned limitations.
Precisely. And these beliefs, they can act like invisible constraints, can't they? Subconsciously dictating what we even attempt to achieve.
Yeah, like setting a ceiling before you even start.
It's fascinating how deeply ingrained these can become, too, often stemming from maybe early school experiences or just societal messages we absorb.
So the crucial first step is just recognizing them, seeing them for what they are.
Recognizing these self-imposed limitations, absolutely. Awareness is key.
And Kwik provides a tool for challenging them. It sounds almost deceptively simple, but it seems incredibly powerful, just adding the word yet.
Yes. The power of yet.
So instead of thinking, I can't do this, you consciously shift it to, I can't do this yet.
Such a small tweak.
It is, but it signals something important to your brain, right? That the situation isn't fixed, that growth and learning are still on the table. It kind of opens up that pathway to development.
That addition of yet is actually quite profound, psychologically speaking. It reframes a fixed perspective, I am this way, into a growth-oriented one, I am learning.
Right. It implies possibility.
Exactly. It acknowledges that abilities aren't static. They can be developed through dedication, through effort. And this subtle change in language, it can significantly influence our willingness to even engage with challenges.
Makes you more likely to try.
And to persevere through difficulties, yeah. To see setbacks not as proof of your limits, but just as learning opportunities.
Okay, so that's mindset, challenging those limiting beliefs, cultivating a growth perspective with simple tools like yet. Now, let's turn to the second M, motivation.
The driving force.
Right. And Kwik argues something interesting here. A lack of motivation isn't usually about being lazy. That's often how we frame it, isn't it?
Oh yeah, we beat ourselves up about it. I should be more motivated.
But he says it often stems from something else. A lack of clarity about our why. We might think we need more willpower, but what's often missing is that compelling underlying reason to act.
That's a really important distinction, I think. We often criticize ourselves for what feels like low motivation, when the real issue might be that we haven't clearly defined our purpose. We haven't connected with the deeper reasons behind our goals.
And without that strong why.
Well, it's just easy for inertia to set in, isn't it? Or for distractions to take over. There's nothing powerful pulling you forward.
So Kwik breaks motivation down further into three interconnected components. There's purpose, energy, and small, simple steps.
Purpose, energy, SSS.
Right. So purpose is that fundamental reason you're driving why. Pretty straightforward.
Your core motivation.
Then there's energy. This covers maintaining both your mental and physical well-being. You can't really sustain motivation if you're constantly running on empty, right?
Makes sense. Burnout kills motivation. You need fuel in the tank.
And finally, small, simple steps. This is about making the initial action really easy. Breaking down those big, maybe intimidating goals into manageable chunks. Just getting started.
These three elements really work together, don't they? They're synergistic, a strong sense of purpose, that clear why. It naturally helps fuel your energy levels.
It gives you a reason to look after yourself.
And breaking down complex tasks into smaller, more approachable steps makes the whole thing feel less overwhelming, more attainable, which in turn reinforces your motivation because you see progress.
It creates momentum.
Exactly. Think about someone who's committed to, say, writing a book. They get up early every day to write. It's probably not some superhuman discipline driving them.
Probably not just willpower.
More likely, it's the powerful purpose, the why of completing that project that outweighs the, comfort of staying in bed. Their why is strong enough to overcome the why not just sleep in.
That really resonates. Your brain needs a compelling reason to fully engage. Makes total sense. Okay, so we've got mindset, we've got motivation. Now let's move on to the practical side. The method component.
Right, the how-to.
This is where Kwik provides those concrete strategies and techniques for actually enhancing our learning effectiveness, putting it all into practice.
Yes, this is where Limitless really shifts from the conceptual to being a practical toolkit. It offers tangible strategies for improving how we learn.
Like what specifically?
Well, he delves into areas like increasing your reading speed while still understanding what you're reading. Comprehension is key. Techniques for enhancing memory, often using visualization, and ways to improve your focus by actively managing all those distractions around us.
Which are everywhere these days.
Tell me about it. Basically, general accelerated learning techniques.
And he gives specific, actionable examples, which is helpful, like the MOM technique for remembering names. I always struggle with names.
MOM, motivation, observation, mechanics. Yeah, that's a good one.
So the idea is if you have a genuine desire to remember someone's name, that's the motivation.
You have to actually care first.
Right. Then you'll naturally pay closer attention when they introduce themselves. That's the observation part. You actually listen.
Instead of thinking about what you're going to say next.
Exactly. And then you can employ the mechanics memory aids, like associating their name with a vivid image, or maybe repeating it, or connecting it to someone else you know with that name.
What's really crucial about these methods, the mechanics part especially, is that they tend to align with how our brains naturally process and retain information best.
How so?
Well, our brains seem inherently wired for things like narrative, stories, for vivid visual imagery, for emotional connections, rote memorization, just repeating something over and over.
Like cramming for a test?
Yeah, that's often a much less efficient way to actually learn and retain long term. So by leveraging these natural cognitive strengths, stories, images, emotions, we can significantly speed up our learning process.
Speaking of how our brains function, Kwik also talks about something he calls digital dementia. This one really struck a chord with me.
It sounds alarming.
It kind of is. It's the idea that our increasing reliance on technology, on our devices, might actually be weakening certain cognitive functions, particularly things like our memory and our attention span.
This is becoming a huge topic, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's an increasingly relevant concern in our, well, digitally saturated world. We've become so used to outsourcing information retrieval.
Just Googling everything instantly.
Exactly. Outsourcing it to our devices, so our brains have less opportunity, less need to actively engage in the act of remembering.
Think about phone numbers. It's the classic example.
It really is. Just a generation or two ago, most people could rattle off numerous phone numbers from memory. Friends, family. Today, we almost exclusively rely on our contact lists, stored right there in the phone.
Absolutely. I barely know my own family's number sometimes. We instinctively reach for Google for any question. We set digital reminders for everything. And Kiewic's point is that our brain, well, like any muscle,
Use it or lose it.
pretty much. If we consistently offload these cognitive tasks to technology and we don't intentionally engage our minds in other ways, we risk a decline in our inherent cognitive abilities.
The encouraging thing, though, is that this digital dementia probably isn't like a permanent condition. It's not irreversible brain damage.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Kwik suggests practical steps we can take to counteract it. Things like minimizing non-essential notifications to reduce interruptions and improve focus.
Turning off those constant pings.
Yeah, scheduling dedicated blocks of uninterrupted time for focused work or learning. And intentionally incorporating brain breaks where you actively engage your mind without relying on tech. Maybe do a puzzle, recall something, have a thoughtful conversation.
So it's about consciously re-engaging those cognitive muscles we've been letting atrophy a bit.
Precisely. Being intentional about exercising your brain.
Okay, so we've explored mindset, motivation, and method. Now, Kwik helpfully distills his core learning principles into a memorable acronym, FAST.
FST learning. Forget. Active, state, teach.
Let's quickly unpack each of those. First up, forget. What does that mean in this context? It sounds counterintuitive for learning.
Right. It doesn't mean, erasing your memories. It refers to approaching new learning with a sense of openness, like a beginner's mind.
Yeah.
Setting aside your preconceived notions or biases that might actually prevent you from fully absorbing new information.
So forget what you think you know.
In a way, yes. Be receptive to new perspectives, even if they challenge your current understanding. Don't let your existing knowledge block new learning.
Got it. Okay, next is active.
Active learning is basically the direct opposite of just passively receiving information, like zoning out during a lecture or just reading words on a page without engaging.
So not just letting it wash over you.
Exactly. It involves actively engaging with the material, asking yourself questions about it, taking meaningful notes, not just transcribing, but summarizing in your own words, highlighting key insights, thinking critically about what you're learning.
Being an active participant, not a passive observer.
That's the core of it.
All right, then state. S is for state.
State highlights the powerful connection between our emotional state and our ability to learn effectively. How you feel when you're learning matters a lot.
Our mood affects our memory.
Absolutely. Our emotional state significantly influences how well we encode and retrieve information. Generally, positive emotions, curiosity, interest, enjoyment tend to enhance learning and memory, while stress, boredom, anxiety, they can create barriers.
So being aware of your emotional state and maybe consciously trying to cultivate a more positive, curious learning environment could actually help.
It can be very beneficial, yes. Managing your state is part of managing your learning.
Okay, and finally, teach. T is for teach.
This one's powerful. Kwik emphasizes that one of the absolute most effective ways to solidify your own understanding of a topic is to try and explain it to someone else.
The Feynman technique? Kinda.
Very similar concept, yeah. The act of teaching forces you to organize your thoughts clearly. You have to articulate the information coherently. And crucially, it quickly reveals any gaps in your own comprehension. If you can't explain it simply, you probably don't understand it well enough yet.
That teach principle is incredibly powerful. As Kwik suggests, even something simple like watching a short educational video, maybe a TED Talk,
Uh-huh.
and then immediately trying to explain the key takeaways to a friend or family member, that can dramatically improve your retention.
You really can. And, circling back to an earlier point we made, learning isn't just about rote memorization. It's about creating meaning.
Connecting the dots.
Exactly. The more you can connect new information to stuff you already know, to your existing knowledge base, and especially to your personal interest, the faster and more effectively it will become integrated into your actual understanding. It sticks better when it matters to you.
This whole deep dive into Limitless, it really underscores how vital it is to learn how to learn, doesn't it? It's like a fundamental skill, almost a superpower, especially in our world today where things change so fast and we're just constantly bombarded with new information.
Absolutely. In this age of just unprecedented access to information, the ability to efficiently, effectively acquire new knowledge and skills,
Yeah.
well, it's more valuable than ever before.
And Kwik's work offers such an empowering perspective, I think. It's a reminder that our cognitive capabilities, they aren't these fixed limitations we're stuck with.
No, they're untapped potentials waiting to be developed.
Yeah.
It's genuinely never too late to start training your brain and, expanding your horizons.
So what's the takeaway for you listening? Here's maybe a little challenge. Identify one area where you've told yourself, I'm just not good at this. We all have one, right?
Or several.
Or several, yeah. Then consciously try to apply this limitless framework. First, examine your mindset around it. What are those limiting beliefs? Then connect with your deeper why. What's the real motivation for improving? And finally, experiment with one of the learning methods, one of the M's or FAST principles we talked about.
Maybe try the teach method or add yet.
Yeah. Track your progress, even in small ways. And if you feel comfortable, share your experience with someone else. Teach them what you've learned, even if it's just a tiny insight.
Because this isn't just about passively absorbing information from a book or this conversation. It's really about actively engaging in your own personal growth and transformation.
Right.
By intentionally applying these principles, you can actually start to dismantle those self-imposed barriers and unlock the truly remarkable capacity of your own mind.
A really empowering message. Okay, to close, please don't forget to subscribe on your favorite platform, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or Spotify to stay sharp and never miss a drop of knowledge that could change your financial life. Thank you.